Welcome to Winning Paths, the Irish Field Archery monthly podcast, where victory is an adventure mapped with humour, guided by wisdom, and fueled by epic tales. Whether you're here to crush goals, sharpen your mindset, or just enjoy a good laugh, you're in the right place. Subscribe now, and let's tackle life's challenges together, with a wink, a grin, and a strategy that's anything but ordinary. Draw your bow, take aim, and let's hit those targets. Our material is original, born from our intellectual labor and countless hours spent researching, writing, and publishing. Each episode reflects our deep experience as writers and journalists, delivering content that's as insightful as it is engaging. Check for more at tfam.ie. Have you ever wondered what happens when a master craftsman decides to exact revenge? Picture Völund, or Wayland the Smith if you prefer, a virtuoso of the forge, with hands as deft as a leprechaun's touch, and a wit as sharp as his own blades. Imagine what goes on in the mind of a man who spends his days hammering metal and shaping destiny with every strike of his anvil. Was he driven by passion, revenge, or just the sheer joy of making things that could slice through the fabric of myth itself? Pull up a stool, pour yourself a hearty draught of the good stuff, and let's delve into the twisted, gleaming, and darkly comical tale of Völund the Smith. Born of noble lineage, Völund was the son of a Finnish king. His brothers, Egil and Slagfid, were no slouches either, with skills that complemented Völund's perfectly. Yet, it was Völund who stood out, the gleam of his forge lighting up the legends and sagas of the north. The three brothers lived happily in their homeland, until the whims of fate, or perhaps the capriciousness of the gods, drew them away. Now, one might imagine the life of a master smith to be solitary, filled with the clang of metal and the hiss of steam, but Völund's tale is anything but mundane. It is filled with love, betrayal, vengeance, and the kind of dark humour that makes you laugh and wince all at once. Imagine a Shakespearean tragedy, but with more anvils and fewer soliloquies. One fine day, Völund and his brothers were out in the wild, doing what lads do, hunting, laughing, and perhaps planning their next great creation, when they stumbled upon three swan maidens bathing in a lake. The swan maidens, of course, were no ordinary women, but enchantresses who could transform into swans by donning their magical feathered cloaks. The brothers, being men of action and not much foresight, promptly fell in love with these mysterious beauties. Völund, ever the romantic, who knew right, took the swan maiden Hervar Alv for his wife, while his brothers married the other two. They lived together in bliss for several years, the swan maidens setting aside their cloaks and their freedom for the love of these mortal men. But as with all good things in Norse mythology, this happiness was doomed to be fleeting. One morning, the swan maidens awoke with an inexplicable yearning for the skies and their former lives. Without so much as a thanks for the memories, they slipped back into their cloaks and flew away, leaving the brothers heartbroken and alone. Völund, feeling the sting of abandonment more acutely than his siblings, vowed to wait for his beloved's return, turning his pain into the fires of his forge. While his brothers moved on, Völund immersed himself in his work, creating weapons and treasures of unparalleled beauty and power. His reputation spread far and wide, catching the attention of King Nidad, a ruler with more greed than sense. Nidad, coveting Völund's skills, devised a cunning plan. He had Völund captured, maimed by severing his hamstrings, to ensure he could not escape, and imprisoned on an island, forcing him to craft treasures exclusively for the king. You might think that being crippled and imprisoned would break a man, but Völund was made of sterner stuff. He played the long game, biding his time, his mind as sharp as the blades he forged. If he couldn't run, he would wait. If he couldn't escape, he would plot. And plot he did, with a vengeful creativity that only a master smith could muster. The tale takes a deliciously dark turn with Völund's revenge. The king's sons, curious about the treasures their father so prized, visited Völund's forge. Völund, ever the gracious host, murdered them and turned their skulls into goblets, their eyes into precious gems, and their teeth into jewelry. These he sent to King Nidad and his queen, who were none the wiser about their true origin. But Völund's revenge did not stop there. He seduced the king's daughter, Bodvild, ensuring that the royal lineage would bear his mark. When the deed was done, he revealed his true identity and the fate of the king's sons. Before escaping on wings, he had crafted himself, leaving the king's court in shambles. Volund's story, though filled with darkness, is also a tale of resilience and the relentless pursuit of mastery. He turned his pain into power, his captivity into creativity, and his vengeance into a legendary tale. The Greeks had Hephaestus, the Romans Vulcan, but the Norse had Völund, a figure who embodies the cold, hard edge of survival and the fiery heart of a true artist. His legacy lives on in the annals of myth, a reminder that the greatest creations often come from the greatest suffering, and that a master craftsman's work is never done, even when bound by chains or crippled by treachery. Volund's tale is not just a story of revenge, but a testament to the indomitable spirit of those who create, no matter the cost. Now, let's not forget the deliciously cynical undertones of Volund's tale. Here's a man who, when life gave him lemons, didn't just make lemonade. He fashioned a weapon, exacted his revenge, and then flew off into the sunset with a smirk on his face. Volund's story is a darkly humorous reminder that sometimes the best way to deal with a bad hand is to reshuffle the deck entirely. And what of King Nidad, a ruler who thought he could cage genius and use it for his own gain, only to be outsmarted and humiliated in the most gruesome manner? His fate serves as a cautionary tale. Never underestimate the cunning of a craftsman, especially one with a grudge. Let's take a moment to appreciate the sheer artistry of Volund's work. The man could turn raw metal into objects of sublime beauty and deadly efficiency. His swords were not just weapons, but works of art, each one a testament to his skill and vision. His goblets, forged from the skulls of his enemies, were macabre masterpieces, reflecting the dark humor and profound irony that permeated his life. One must wonder what went through Volund's mind as he toiled away in his forge, shaping the very instruments of his revenge. Did he take pleasure in the artistry of his creations, or was it the thought of their eventual use that spurred him on? Perhaps it was both, a perfect blend of craftsmanship and cunning, each feeding off the other in a cycle of creation and destruction. Volund's story is rife with the kind of dark humor that makes you laugh even as you wince. Here's a man who, after being crippled and imprisoned, managed to turn the tables on his captors in the most gruesome and ingenious ways possible. He transformed his enemies into instruments of his revenge, their remains serving as a macabre reminder of his skill and ingenuity. The gods, with their petty squabbles and divine interventions, often find themselves in situations that are both grand and ridiculous. Volund's tale is no exception, showcasing the humor and folly that come with divine retribution. His ability to navigate these challenges with grace and strength is a reminder that even the gods must contend with the unpredictable nature of life. At its core, Volund's story is a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. Despite the betrayals, the captivity, and the physical pain, Völund never lost sight of his goal. He used his skills and his wits to turn the tables on his captors, transforming his suffering into a powerful force for revenge and redemption. His journey from skilled craftsman to vengeful god is a powerful reminder that even in the face of overwhelming adversity, we have the power to shape our own destinies. Volund's story encourages us to embrace our strengths, to use our skills and our wits to overcome the challenges we face, and to never give up on the pursuit of our goals. Today, Volund's legacy endures, particularly among those who find inspiration in his story of resilience and revenge. He is a figure of empowerment for artists, craftsmen, and anyone who has ever faced adversity and used it as a catalyst for growth and transformation. In the realms of literature, art, and popular culture, Völund appears as a symbol of creativity and resilience. His story is a reminder that even in the darkest of times, we have the power to shape our own destinies, to turn our pain into power, and to create something beautiful and enduring from the raw materials of our lives. In the practical world, Völund's story offers valuable lessons. He teaches us the importance of resilience in the face of adversity, the power of creativity and ingenuity, and the value of patience and long-term planning. His tale encourages us to find our own path, to use our skills and our wits to overcome the challenges we face, and to never give up on the pursuit of our goals. Much like the master smith himself, we are reminded that life is not about conforming to the expectations of others, but about finding our own place in the world. Völund's journey from skilled craftsman to vengeful god mirrors the human experience of growth and self-discovery. His ability to adapt, to survive, and to thrive in the harshest of conditions is a testament to the indomitable spirit that resides within us all. Whether we are navigating the complexities of modern life or seeking solace in the creative process, Völund's story offers valuable lessons and a source of strength. So, the next time you find yourself faced with a challenge, think of Völund. Channel his resilience and determination, and remember that even in the harshest of conditions, there is beauty, strength, and the potential for growth. In the grand chaotic mosaic of life, Völund is a thread of practicality and pragmatism, reminding us that even the most seemingly ordinary skills and actions can have extraordinary consequences, and in a world that often feels as unpredictable as the Norse cosmos, that's a comforting thought indeed. In the quaint town of Portlaoise, there lived a blind archer named Fergal O'Neill. Now, you might think that a blind archer is as useful as a chocolate teapot, but Fergal had an uncanny knack for hitting his targets. His other senses were so finely tuned that he could hear the whisper of the wind and feel the vibrations in the ground, guiding his arrows with an almost supernatural precision. Fergal's constant companion was a supercilious golden retriever named Neith, after the Celtic god of war and artistry. Neith had a habit of getting into trouble, his haughty demeanor belying a mischievous streak a mile wide. If there was a muddy puddle, Neith would find it. If there was a neighbor's laundry to be rummaged through, Neith was there, tail wagging and eyes gleaming with mischief. Then there was the archery coach, Seamus O'Doherty, a man with an obsession for honesty and following the rules. Seamus was as rigid as a well-strung bow, his life governed by a code of conduct that left no room for deviation. He believed that every arrow should be loosed with the utmost integrity, that every shot should be a testament to the archer's honor and skill. One fine day, Fergal was practicing in the local archery range, with Neith lounging nearby, chewing on what was probably someone's lost sock. Seamus, clipboard in hand, watched Fergal with a critical eye, his brow furrowed in concentration. "Fergal, you must keep your form. Just because you're blind doesn't mean you can slack off," Seamus barked, his voice as sharp as an arrowhead. Fergal smirked, adjusting his stance. "Seamus, if I keep my form any more rigid, I'll turn into a statue. Besides, I'm hitting the target, aren't I?" Seamus grumbled, but couldn't argue with the results. Fergal's arrows hit the bullseye with unerring accuracy, despite his lack of sight, and Seamus, for all his rule-following, couldn't help but admire Fergal's skill. Neith, meanwhile, decided it was the perfect time to get into more trouble. Spotting a squirrel on the other side of the range, he took off, dragging the practice targets with her. Arrows flew in all directions, and Seamus's face turned a shade of red that could rival the setting sun. "Neith, get back here," Seamus yelled, his voice a mix of frustration and disbelief. But Neith was already gone, the squirrel and her mischief leading her on a merry chase. Just when things seemed like they couldn't get worse, enter Bart, the local librarian and motorcyclist, a man with a penchant for leather jackets and dusty books. Bart had seen it all, every scandal, every petty feud, and he had a dark sense of humor to match. He often joked that his Harley-Davidson was the only thing that kept him sane amidst the madness of Portlaoise. On this particular day, Bart decided to pay a visit to the archery range, curious about the blind archer he'd heard so much about. He arrived just in time to witness the chaos, Neith tearing through the targets, Seamus yelling like a banshee, and Fergal laughing so hard he could barely stand. "Well, isn't this a sight for sore eyes?" Bart drawled, his sarcasm as thick as the smoke from his motorcycle. "A blind archer, a rogue dog, and a rules-obsessed coach. Sounds like the start of a bad joke." Seamus shot him a withering glare. "Bart, this is serious. Neith has ruined the entire practice session." Bart chuckled, leaning against his bike. "Oh, come on, Seamus. Lighten up. What's life without a bit of chaos?" Things came to a head when Neith finally returned, covered in mud and looking very pleased with himself. Seamus was fuming, his clipboard trembling in his hands. "That dog is a menace, Fergal. He's ruined everything." Fergal, still grinning, shrugged. "He's just having fun, Seamus. Maybe you should try it sometime." Seamus looked like he might explode, but before he could say anything, Bart stepped in. "You know, Seamus, not everything has to be by the book. Sometimes the best moments are the ones that break the rules." Seamus stared at Bart, his face a mask of frustration and disbelief. "But the rules are what keep us focused, what keep us honest." Bart laughed, a dark, cynical sound. "Honesty? Really? Seamus, every little town thrives on its little secrets and scandals. If you think a few rules are going to keep things in order, You're more deluded than I thought. Fergal, sensing an opportunity, raised his bow. How about this, Seamus? One shot. If I hit the bullseye, Knife stays. If I miss, I'll make sure she behaves from now on. Seamus hesitated, then nodded. Fine, one shot. Fergal took a deep breath, his senses attuned to the world around him. He felt the breeze, heard the rustle of leaves, and focused on the target. With a swift, practiced motion, he loosed the arrow. It flew true, striking the bullseye dead center. Bart clapped, a slow, mocking applause. Well, Seamus, looks like the blind archer wins again. Seamus sighed, his shoulders slumping in defeat. Fine, Knife can stay, but mark my words, Fergal, if he causes any more trouble, it's on you. Fergal laughed, patting Knife's head. Deal, but I wouldn't have him any other way. And so, life in Portlaoise continued, with Fergal, Knife, Seamus, and Bart forming an unlikely but unbreakable bond. Their story, much like Völund's, is a reminder that even in the face of adversity and chaos, we can find strength, humor, and a bit of dark irony. The moral: sometimes the rules are meant to be bent, if not broken. Life is unpredictable, and the best moments often come from the chaos we least expect. So, here's to the blind archer, the mischievous dog, the rigid coach, and the cynical motorcyclist. May their story remind us to embrace the unexpected, to find joy in the chaos, and to always aim true, even when the world seems against us.